for you at these websites: massvetsadvisor.com and mass.gov/veterans. To learn more, email the Franklin Post of the American Legion at mapost75@gmail.com. Community radio in the public interest. This is WFPRLP, Franklin on 102.9 FM. Visit us anytime, day or night, on the web at WFPR.FM. It's so nice to have you with us today.
Welcome to the wonderful world of wine. We are your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Kim Simone, exploring all things wine with you. You can find us on Facebook at The Wonderful World of Wine. Hello again, everybody, and thank you for joining Kim and I today on The Wonderful World of Wine. How are you, Kim?
I'm doing fine, Mark. How are you?
I am doing great, Kim. Thank you. Today we're going to talk about the 2023 wine trends that people think. What's going to happen this year in wine? And last week we reviewed the 2022 predictions, if they came true or not. We'll talk about trends that should be predicted to happen this year. And then, of course, we'll have to next year review these trends and these topics. Mm-hmm. The first article, Kim, we want to talk about, we had many people came up with their own little spin on what's going to happen, was VinePair saying trends we should leave behind that happened in 2022. They mentioned first off healthy booze, and healthy or low-cal was trending supposedly in 2022, and they're saying let's not do that this year. What did you think about that take, Kim?
I mean, my opinion has always been that healthy, quote-unquote, wine, if you're removing calories or removing carbohydrates or doing something to it, you're really messing with that wine. So I feel like any of these products that are trying...
Recording too. I don't know why the announcement didn't go off, but
Okay.
It's recording.
It did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, he heard it.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Yep.
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the February 15th, 2023 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Meetings are live streamed by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda and on the town's website. The phone number is 929-205-6099, and the Zoom ID is 880-5505-1868. Then you need to hit the pound sign. Once again, the Zoom ID is 880-5505-1868 pound. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Councilor Pellegrini will not be in attendance tonight. She's a little under the weather, and we hope she's feeling better very soon. Citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Nothing out there. Okay, moving on. Approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Proclamations and recognitions, we have none this evening. No appointments this evening. We do have one public hearing, and I would declare the street acceptance public hearing for Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane. I declare that public hearing open. Since this is a public hearing, I will go to the public first. Jamie, you want to give a brief overview?
Sure. So through you, Mr. Chairman, through the council and everybody watching from home, this is part, the next two roads on our consistent objective to accept all the private ways in town. So before the council tonight is Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane, both of which are small roadways off of Maple Street. And essentially, the planning board has approved both of these, along with the town attorney and the town engineer. Mike Maglio is here tonight to answer any specific questions people may have. But ultimately, the effect of this is now they become public roads. We get added to the Chapter 90 inventory. The town is now responsible for maintaining and improving those. And as we know with many other roads, patience will be required because to rebuild some of these roads can take an awful lot of money and an awful lot of time. But we can't even get in there to rebuild anything if we don't accept them first. And obviously, we're not gonna get rich off the Chapter 90 allotment, but every little bit helps Brutus and the team at the DPW. So, I just wanna thank Mark Sorrell in particular and Mike Maglio who really do this, the majority of this work. And we just try to check off every street, few a year. It's kind of like lot line changes, we just keep trying to plug away at the backlog. So at least we got two more done, and this will bring our total, by the way, Mr. Chairman, this year to, I believe, 5 or 6 streets accepted. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is for sure. Okay, I will go to, since it's a public hearing, I will go to the audience first. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on the street acceptance of Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane? Is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on this public hearing for Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane? Seeing none, I'll go to the council. Councilor Frongillo.
Why do will we make the money back needed to maintain the road through the additional Chapter 90 money or through the tax money that we get from them? I'm fairly confident, I am very confident that the answer is no. That we will never make back the money that it costs to maintain these roads. These are current roads these roads are not used by anyone else. They exist only to serve those few houses, and those homes will never contribute enough in taxes to pay for the maintenance of the very roads that they sit on. Every time we do this, we add hundreds of thousands to our future liabilities for a generation to come. Why do we keep doing this, and when does it stop?
Just having to shuffle, so I'll stand here at the mic. You're correct, Councilor Frangillo. It's unlikely that the amount of Chapter 90 money that that we would bring in would pay for the reconstruction of the road. So if you live on that road, legally, the town does not require by law to plow that road, to maintain that road, or provide services to that road. I think this is in that thorny doldrum of really the fact that when most people buy their homes, unless it's explicitly straightforward, and that's more of a modernized thing over the last 10, 15, 20 years, unless you really read your deed and you understand you live on a private way, the overall general assumption is that the town is going to maintain and plow and do what it needs to do on that road. Road work and public infrastructure are probably the bread and butter of what we do as an organization and as a government. Certainly we do other things as well. I guess if the council does want to prohibit or stop or cease or slow down the town's efforts to do public acceptances, that's certainly within the council's discretion. It's been traditional practice in the past to kind of chip away at these, and the council's funded a nominal amount of capital money every year to pay for some of the legal costs and engineering costs to get those roads up to code. But for the citizens on those streets, I can't recall a time, it probably has happened, but I can't recall a time where people came out to oppose public acceptance of a street. Some streets in town are well known to be private ways. Developers still own those roads. And sometimes the citizens are generally very unhappy when a developer owns a road and they realize the developer is not willing to maintain the road. They come to us and we're kind of caught in a legal pickle of not being able to do anything because a developer may own a road, and so it's always just difficult, and so it's certainly within the council's jurisdiction to instruct the staff to slow this stuff down. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Jamie actually took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, when I moved to my street, I just would have assumed that the town was going to plow it and do everything. And can I just ask you, both those roads have to be, 30 years old?
31. It's 31 years old.
Thank you. All right. I mean, so we haven't had to do anything. We've gotten a bargain for 31 years. And I just think that as townspeople, I think they just expect that we will take care of their roads, plow them, make sure the catch basins are clean, all that stuff. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Sheridan.
So this, Chair, for you, point of clarifications, these are different than like you see down the Cape, a place like this is private way. This.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, Brutus wants to aim for it.
Go ahead, Brutus.
Why not let Brutus go?
I just want to add, Mr. Chairman, that Brutus Kennergy, DPW Director. It's really important to understand with these roads, it goes back to the intent of this road. When the developer came in here, he went through the planning board process that these roads were going to be accepted as a public right-of-way. Somewhere along the line, they weren't. Who knows why they weren't accepted? The developer didn't finish it up. That's why there was, as Public Works, now they come in through the planning when we hold bonding money. So this doesn't happen again. But these roads were always intended to be public right-of-ways. Sometimes developers come in and say, hey, I want it to be a private way. We're not trying to take over private ways, even though we get those calls sometimes.
Right.
These are intended to be a public right-of-way. So if you want to start changing that, I think that's where you'd have to look through the zoning. You'd have to talk about the policy of the town and how they're going to do it going forward. It's going to be new subdivision that, hey, maybe will be a private way. So, and the other thing that goes along with a lot of new roads now, the planning board, especially with stormwater, they put that in as a separate type thing so that the town doesn't get the burden on that. So there could be different things associated with that. You could choose, okay, we'll take care of the road, but you got to plow it, or whatever it might be. But that's policy of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Brutus. Attorney Sorrell.
To dovetail on what Brutus just said, when they come into the planning board, the developer comes in, it's contemplated that it will be a public road, and that's why it's built to certain minimum town standards. If it's going to be a private road, and everybody knows that up front, then typically the planning will require the developer to set up a homeowners association to ensure that the road is properly maintained.
Right.
Otherwise, you get a worst-case scenario, 20, 30 years out, the road's deteriorated, the town cannot act, cannot do any work on it because the law requires you to own the road before you do work. The people, the abutters don't have the money or the wherewithal to do it, and again, it's assumed that the town was going to do it.
Thank you, Attorney Sorrell. Councilor Sheridan,
I answered
you
the question,
all
yeah.
set?
Yeah.
Councilor DeLorco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, too. I mean, I kind of get what he's saying, but also I agree with Councilor Chandler. These residents have been paying taxes for 31 years. I think it's our obligation to help them out and make sure that their roads are right, so the police and the fire can get down there in case somebody gets injured or something like that. I just think I know we're gonna eat it, but we've been eating it for many years, and it's fine by me. I mean, they deserve it, in my eyes.
Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is just sort of a question, I guess, to the TA or even to Brutus. Are we currently not serving these roads? Like the plows don't go down them, trash doesn't go down them, recycle doesn't go down them, like what? Or is this simply a matter of we do those services because it's the right thing to do and we want to make them public ways so we can try to take advantage of some additional Chapter 90 money?
So the council through the years, as far as like snow removal, once there's 2 properties that are there and the road is complete, they can petition the town to plow it. So we always plow the roads, just because it's a public safety.
Sure.
Then we can also go out and we do fill potholes here and there. But since I've been here, like sometimes the drainage structures have failed, can't do anything. But we do the public safety type thing. As far as trash and recycle goes, we go down to private ways. We'll pick up your trash for you.
Good.
Everything.
Good. So
Good
and
revenue.
that's great to hear, because I think, as my other counselors have said, that's what people deserve living here in town. So there's no difference in the taxes that these people are currently paying than what other people pay on a publicly accepted road?
That's correct.
So it's not like they've been getting a break for all this time. They've been paying the same as everybody else.
That's correct.
Okay, so it seems like a no-brainer to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think most of it's already been said. Honestly, I think Councilor Cormier Ledger just probably said it the best. It's a no-brainer. We have, for as long as I can remember, dating back over the years, for any time a private way has come across our plate in regards to making it public, we've always agreed to do it. We're already supplying the services to those roads. The citizens on those streets are taxpayer citizens. They deserve as many rights as anyone else in this town, and we are obliged as a council to meet their needs. It's just that simple. And we have never turned down a request that's come before us. I don't see any need that we should start now. In regards to what the expense might be in the future, well, I don't know what's going to be the expense for anything in the future. We can't, at this moment, we have an issue that needs to be resolved. It should be taken upon us to resolve that issue, and I am strongly in support of taking acceptance of this road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say that for me, it's the intent, it was what Brutus said, with the intent that this was built on, was that they would become public roads, that we would take them on, and so the developer built them with the specifications that we would take them on. And I think, and that's, to me, that means we just do what we said we were gonna do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah. I think that the best point is if there was some promise or some expectation. But when we say that for all these years, we've just always accepted them, what I hear is that for all these years, we've chosen to indebt future generations for liabilities that we'll never be able to afford and further add to our expense sheets. just looking at the cost per mile to maintain a road, assuming that a road lasts, the current 30, 35 years, $375,000 to maintain this 0.3 miles over its lifetime. Annual contributions needed to cover that over the 30 years, $12,500. Annual contributions from the 19 homes that this is servicing. Again, no one else. It's not a cut through. It's not a road that you'll just go down on your own. So it's just servicing these 19. Annually, they contribute a total of $1,000 toward our DPW road and highway maintenance. That is a $11,000 shortfall every single year over the span of its first lifetime. That's a $340,000 shortfall that are on everyone else to now pay for them. When we multiply that over the hundreds of miles in Franklin, all we're doing is saying that it's not a problem that we want to deal with now. It's a problem that 30 years they can deal with. And the more that we do that, the more that we're just setting ourselves up to fail. I hope that we reconsider the system moving forward, and that we do seriously evaluate our ability to continue to take on private roads that we can't maintain. Again, I only talked about the road maintenance costs. We're also taking on the sewage and the other utilities, all of which will fall short of paying itself. We can't just turn a blind eye to these expenses.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. And is there any other comments from the council? The only comments I'll make is, first and foremost, I think to Brutus's point, and I agree with, there was an expectation and there were requirements that were set forth. If in fact the council feels like that we need to change those, we are putting together a master plan committee. And this is, if there's a sense that the council wants to do this, the master plan committee looks at it and comes back and recommends to the council changes, then we address those changes then. But now is not the time to make those adjustments. The adjustments should be made during, and it's perfect timing, Councilor Frangillo, for your thoughts to be brought, obviously, to the Master Plan Committee, and they can look at that going forward. But today and now, we need to deal with these two particular streets today. But there are many others that were built on the same, under the same guidelines, with us as a town or planning board telling the contractor how to build that road to our specifications. I believe we have an obligation to accept those streets when they're ready. That's my dog and pony show. And at this point, seeing no further discussion, I'll give one last chance in the council chambers. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on the street acceptances, Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane. And I will go immediately to out of order and go to legislation for action. And I'll go to Resolution 23-17, order of acceptance of Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane as public ways and related utility and drainage easements. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-17, the order of acceptance of Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane as public ways and related drainage easements. Whereas the General Court enacted Chapter 163 of the Legislative Acts of 2011, an act providing a simplified procedure for municipal acceptance of subdivision roads in the city known as the Town of Franklin, hereinafter known as Chapter 163, and whereas Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane are laid out and constructed roads in a residential subdivision shown on the definitive subdivision plan approved by the Town of Franklin Planning Board and recorded at Norfolk County Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 351 as Plan Number 302, and subsequently modified on a plan approved by the Town of Franklin Planning Board and recorded at Norfolk County Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 379 as Plan Number 263. Whereas the town has fully complied with the requirements of Chapter 163 for municipal acceptance of said roads as public ways, said compliance includes submittal of written certification and plans by the Town of Franklin Planning Board to the Franklin Town Council, and the Franklin Town Council's holding of public hearing this date after having given prior written notice thereof to the owner of record and each property abutting the roads as evidenced by the abutters list, a true copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, and notice by newspaper publication. Now, therefore be it ordered that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin determines that it is in the public's interest to accept Maple Tree Lane and Oak Tree Lane shown in the above referenced definitive subdivision plans and also shown in the street acceptance plan entitled Street Acceptance Plan prepared by the United Consultants Incorporated of 850 Franklin Street, Suite 11D, Rentham, Mass. 02093, and dated March 28, 2013, to be recorded herewith as public ways. In accordance with said determinations, the Franklin Town Council hereby accepts the following roads shown on said street acceptance plan as public ways with the fee ownership therefore to vest in the town. Maple Tree Lane for its entire length, Oak Tree Lane for its entire length, and together with ownership in the following easements shown in the above referenced street acceptance plan, drainage easement number 1, running through the middle of Lot 10 and running along the rear of Lots 8A, 9A, and 10. Drainage easement number 2, 20-foot wide drainage easement running along the right side of Lot A and Lot 16, running across the rear of Lots A, 13A, 14, 15, and 16, and running through the middle of Lot 15. Drainage easement number 3, 20-foot wide drainage easement running along the left side of Lot B and the rear of Lots B and C. The Franklin Town Council directs that a true copy of this order of acceptance, together with the original above referenced street acceptance plan, be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds within 30 days and in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 163. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-17.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie, anything to
Straightforward.
add?
Nope.
Any discussion from the council? Any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-17, a two-thirds majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
They were quiet during the meeting.
At least we made 10 people happy.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. Well, actually, we didn't have any license transactions or presentations or discussions, so we are in legislation for action. We'll move to Resolution 23-18, FY23 Capital Improvement Plan. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 2318, capital fiscal year 23 appropriation, total amount requested, free cash, $1,928,487, water retained earnings, $1,237,750, and sewer retained earnings, $935,000. The purpose? To appropriate funds for the 2023 capital improvement plan. I'm going to give you a list of departments, descriptions, a category, the amount, and the total that's associated with them. Schools, K through grade 5, English language curriculum material, $325,000. Schools and facilities, Remington, Jefferson, and Cal Sullivan Security. Equipment, $80,000. School and technology, replace teachers' laptops, technology, $75,000. Total for schools, $480,000. Facilities, Davis Thayer cleanout and market appraisal, $50,000. Senior center van vehicles, $89,000. For total for facilities, $139,000. Technology, UPS replacements at the municipal building, equipment, $15,000. Police station Wi-Fi replacement technology, $5,500. For a total of $20,500 for technology. Town administration and building committee, sealers and weights and measures equipment, $50,000. Schmitz Farm home demolition, Part of infrastructure, $80,000, for a total of $120,000 for town admin and building committee. Fire, 4 combustible gas meters, equipment, $26,124,000. Portable radios equipment, $161,725. Gumard Hall ALS simulator equipment, $52,683. EMS command vehicles, under vehicles, $67,517. 2 Hal Martro mini cutters, equipment $7,900. I want one of those. Structural firefighter clothing equipment, $63,250, for a total for fire $379,199. Police department, police vehicles, under vehicles $338,349. Electronic control weapons, in other words tasers, equipment $14,603. Protective body armor, equipment $16,896. Message speed enforcement trailer, equipment $21,250. Technology investments, under technology $8,690. For a total for the police $399,788. Public works, vehicles and equipment, vehicles $390,000. Total free cash appropriation of $1,928,487. Water and Enterprise Fund, well, number 7. PFAS infrastructure, $645,500. Vehicle and equipment under vehicle, $75,000. Fisher Street, WTP upgrade feasibility study under infrastructure, $467,250. Meter replacements under equipment, $50,000. Water Enterprise Fund, $1,237,750. Sewer Enterprise Fund, total water retained earnings appropriation, $237,750. Sewer Enterprise Fund, sewer ejector station equipment replacement, under equipment, $125,000. Phase 4V1, sewer rehabilitation construction, which is part 2 of the equipment, $500,000. Equipment and vehicles, equipment, $110,000. Inflow and infiltration, in other words, I&I investments, equipment, $200,000. For total sewer enterprise, $935,000. Total sewer and retained earnings appropriation, $935,000. Finance Committee action meeting on February 7th of 2023 was a unanimous vote for the amount recommended of $4,101,237. This is a motion. Be it moved and voted by the town council that the sum of $1,928,487 be appropriated from free cash, $1,237,750 be appropriated from the water retained earnings, and $935,000 be appropriated from the sewer retained earnings to be expended at the discretion of the town administrator for fiscal year 2023 capital improvement plan, as outlined above, including any residual funds remaining in these line items. This resolution to become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-18.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think Councilor Jones just outlined it. I'm not sure how much more there is to say. The exact numbers of the exact recommendations of the first resolution I'll just mention in a moment. 23-19 are the appropriations to the stabilization accounts, which is also part of the capital plan, but legally we have to have a separate resolution. And then the third one, 23-20, we can discuss more in a minute. It was a bit of a donut hole of leftover money that we have to appropriate from retained earnings due to the ARPA funds. So in other words, instead of paying $1.47 million for the water main, we can pay $44,000. I think that's a better deal. But it was some accounting when the money came in from the county, so we have to pick up that balance. So that was also part of the capital plan, but obviously those are 3 separate resolutions that have to be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll call on Councilor DeLarco, who's the vice chair of the Capital Committee.
Yeah, Debbie stayed home. She gets me for the last 30 years.
Be careful, she's watching.
I know she is watching. She'll call me tomorrow. Yeah. So, Council Pellegrini is homesick, so we wish her all the best, but she did leave me some notes. So the Capital Subcommittee held 2 meetings of about an hour and a half apiece, all department asking for the money, attended all the meetings, and Council Pellegrini was at the helm. The recommendation is for about $3.5 million to go to schools, police, fire, DPW, technology, all vehicles to move forward to make our town better. The committee moved all recommendations forward to the council to our approval tonight. I want to also highlight that we are not actually spending all of the money. This is not just spend, 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 and she wrote all three of those words. So the committee also unanimously endorsed a deposit of $1 million into our rainy day fund account. And Councilor Pellegrini would also like to thank the fellow councilors, Councilor Cormier Ledger, Councilor Chandler, and Councilor myself for all our work on the subcommittee.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Okay, further discussion. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For you to the town administrator, will there eventually be requests specific to capital improvements in regards to stormwater in the future eventually?
Through Mr. Chairman, for the, yes. This year, though, there was 20% of one vehicle that was appropriated for capital, but it will be in the operating budget because we actually don't have a budget yet for stormwater.
Okay.
So once the stormwater utility gets going, just like water and sewer and trash and refuse, presumably at some point, the staff and I will build in a capital program for those needs based on those permit requirements in the future. But I expect it on the same cycle as water and sewer.
Mr. Chairman, just one point. In regards to that, the reason I bring that up is because that will at least give us an opportunity to reflect the expense associated with the stormwater fees and where they're eventually going to be spent.
Exactly.
So that's just kind of my hope with that.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to share a couple of comments that I made in our capital meetings. It was great to be once again part of that group, and congratulations to our town administrator and to all department heads for balancing another great budget and allowing us to have a surplus to even discuss for capital, because that truly shows great fiscal management. But some of the things that we debated, which were not here to stop any department from getting what they need to do their job, our schools, our police, our fire, but truly some of these things, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of some others, is they're not really capital expenses. They're really operational expenses that we should be looking at in the future, moving into operating. School curriculum, for example, laptops which teachers need to do their jobs, police and fire protective equipment, they need to do their jobs, body armor, they need to do their jobs, tasers, they need to do their jobs. Cars and DPW vehicles and special requests, they're large capital expenses. Those absolutely make sense to come before us in a capital request like this. But things that people need to do their day-to-day jobs, in my opinion, should not be coming to us in capital. I'm certainly not going to stop them from going forward and in any way to tell those departments they can't have what they need. But I'd like to think that capital requests going forward would start to tackle maybe the $140 million project list that you've put before us that the town needs to somehow find the money for, infrastructure, roads, pipes, things that really are sort of special when we're blessed with this kind of surplus. So I think tonight we have no choice, because I kept hearing this is how we've always done things, and we've, you know, these departments said no, they have to ask for this money at this time. So I don't want to stop them from getting what they need. But going forward, I would like us to at least try to take some of these costs into account for operating. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you. I want to commend everyone who put this together. This is a lot of work, and I think it's a great job of prioritizing. The one note that I had, well, just because it was mentioned, I'll again highlight the 140 million is the number of infrastructure expenses that we haven't yet paid that we're going to need to pay, and we're continuing to add on to that through items like we just did. But the one thing that I had to talk about on this is the open space stabilization. And this came up last year, and I just want to make sure that we're all marking it and reminding ourselves that we're choosing not to put money into the open space stabilization fund. And the reasoning here is that because we've adopted the community preservation, that now we have money to do things like that, and so we don't need to add to our open space. When the residents of Franklin went out and agreed to contribute more of their money to the community preservation fund, they did so thinking that they wanted to spend more on open space, conservation, recreation, affordable housing, and historic preservation, not just shift that money elsewhere. And so I just want to note that when opportunities come up to purchase open space, I hope that we don't look at the open space stabilization fund and say, oh, we don't have enough money, because we all agreed that we wanted to spend more to that. And if we're not doing so now, when the time comes for us to make those expenditures, I hope that we choose to do so.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. And I don't think any other councilor disagrees with you, but by the same token, just to remind everybody, we bought 200 acres of open space in the last year. And that's something unheard of by any community. Jamie, just because, just to Councilor Cormier-Ledger's point, and for the audience, just give a brief description as to why we do it that way, why we do it this way.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chairman. So ultimately the tax, I've said this a million times on a million issues, the town generates its operating budget revenue through the tax levy. And we are limited under law to Prop 2.5 of 2.5%. So if you go back to last year's tax levy, you can multiply it by 2.5% and get this year's tax levy, which will be in the aura of probably about 3.4 million. So, when you're thinking about 2.5% cost of living adjustments for personnel, thinking about health insurance coming in at 5%, 5.2 to be specific, and we'll go through this at the joint budget subcommittee meeting. There's just extremely limited abilities based on the competing demands of the operational budget for particularly, obviously, the larger departments, schools, DPW facilities, and so forth. You'll see, for example, next fiscal year in the budget, a $350,000 increase just to electricity. Okay, so when you're talking 3.4 million in new revenue, and you start chipping away at healthcare, personnel costs, staff, you're really not, the town's really not at that level of an advantage to be able to invest all of the capital requests that are here in the operating budget. I think at the capital meeting, I can't remember specifically, but I think I aggregated up the requests in this capital plan that would be kind of considered, to Councilor Cormier-Ledger's point, which is completely valid, which would be ongoing things. Tasers, armored gear for the firefighters. Those are on rotational replacements. Those are strategic things we do so that we don't get one huge lump sum of money in 1 year that we need. We phase it over time and replace those things. I think it was in the order of about $1 million. So when you think of your new revenue as 3.4 million, and you take $1 million of that and put it in with all the personnel costs, you'll see it in the budget. On March 8th, you'll see the budget deficit. So I have in my budget model for right now put in there some of these costs that folks are talking about, and you'll see how much bigger the deficit, budget deficit becomes. And then you work backwards and say, geez, and I'm just projecting as to how Jeff went through this too. Wow, 2.5%, COLA for the staff. Well, that's 80% of your budget right there. I mean, that's a huge amount of money. You just work it backwards, and all of a sudden you realize that really the system is, and I appreciate you very much for mentioning this, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. These guys out here do work really hard to manage their budgets. We are pretty tight at times. We are very judicious, and a lot of that they know comes back to invest in those departments later on. And so generally that is the way it's generally been. I think mostly it's worked out well. We have tried to embed in the past, and we will continue to do that this year, looking at smaller amounts of capital, and I think of the electronic tasers and the equipment for the firefighters and police as probably low-hanging fruit. But with all the other operational costs that are out there and competing demands, make no mistake, it's a challenging situation to be in. So I hope that answers at least, or gives folks a little bit of context into how that kind of works.
Thank you, and it does. And I don't think anybody disagrees with they should be in the regular budget. No
Right.
question, operating budget. But for a multitude of reasons, it sometimes is very difficult. But it's a discussion that we will have when we get into our joint budget subcommittee meetings. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-19. A majority votes required. I'm sorry, 18. I apologize. 23-18, the FY23 Capital Improvement Plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-19, free cash to stabilization accounts transfers. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-19, appropriation of free cash to stabilization account transfers. Total amount requested, $1,682,000. The purpose is to continue funding the stabilization funds per town policy. I'm going to read the transfer to, the reason for, the source, and the total amount. Field stabilization, reason is to replace in 2027 from free cash, $150,000. Fire truck stabilization from free cash, $100,000. Budget stabilization free cash, $1 million. OPEB trust fund, continued funding at 10% of free cash, that's from free cash, of $432,000. Total free cash appropriation, $1,682,000. The Finance Committee, on their February 7th, 2023 meeting, unanimously voted to recommend the amount of $1,682,000. Motion be it moved and voted by the Town Council that the sum of $1,682,000 be transferred from free cash to the field, budget, fire truck, and OPEB trust stabilization accounts as outlined above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 23-19.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These investments that are made are a very big reason as to why the town became a AAA bond rating. And so saving some money, some piggy banks, or in the case of the rainy day fund, is smart fiscal policy. And appreciate the subcommittee's support as well as the Finance Committee's support on these deposits. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-19. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-20, water retained earnings transfer to Water Main Capital Project R19-05. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-20, appropriation for the water retained earnings transfer to Water Main Capital Project R19-05. Total amount requested, $44,225.28. The purpose is to fund a budgetary deficit in the Water Main Capital Project R19-05. This is to transfer from the Water Main Project R19-05. The reasons is a budget deficit. Source, water retained earnings, $44,225.28. Motion, be it moved and voted by the Town Council that the sum of $44,225.28 be transferred from the water retained earnings to the Water Main Capital Project R19-05. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 23-20.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
I like the lower number.
I'm going to do the extremely the best I can. So essentially, in short, what happened is the ARPA rules do not allow for like a past bill. So some of the design bills came in for the water mains and the ARPA money that was approved by the county came in later. So you can't start accruing those bills until the money gets wired to you or gets approved by the county, whatever the date was in the rule. So therefore, the difference out of the 1.47 million is 44,000 worth of bills that were accrued for that water main project on Country Club before we got the money. And so at the end of the day, you have to pay the bill. I hope that's
It's the short version.
You can have the finance people give you the half-hour version if you'd like, but I figured, yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. Discussion. Council. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-20. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 23-889, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, Use Regulation Schedule, Residential Uses Referral to the Planning Board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 23-889, formerly known as 22-889. Is zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, Use Regulation Schedule, Residential Use. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185 of the Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following additions and/or deletions to subsection 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, Use Regulation Schedule, Residential Uses, multifamily or apartments. There's an attached list of those changes, just to reflect a couple of quick changes. This is on 185 Attachment 7, Use Regulation Schedule, Note Number 1, per exception of the Planning Board for Residential 6 District C, subsection 18538 has been stricken. It now says per subsection 18538, and was 7 district per subsection 185-50. Note number 3 has changed and states no more than one dwelling unit for every 2,250 square feet of lot area may be permitted. Additional dwelling units may be allowed by special permit from the planning board. And note number 4 has been stricken, and a new note has been added for excuse me. All multifamily developments with 10 or more housing units are required to address the affordable housing requirements in subsection 185-51. All else's remain the same, sir. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and the Massachusetts General Law.
Move zoning bylaw 23-889 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so the next two resolutions, items E and F, just to reiterate to everybody, are referrals to the planning board, in which the planning board will then have public hearings on both of these zoning proposals, and then the planning board will send back to us a recommendation that is not binding, okay? But their input, of course, is extremely valuable.
Okay.
In addition to the fact that 2 members on the EDC Plus were from the planning board, we did it that way for a reason. And then the council will have 2 readings, right? So they will have their own public hearing and 2 readings. You know, Mr. Chairman, I would just make a couple quick and brief comments. Brian's here, obviously, to discuss the details with folks. Been here over 7+ years, and I honestly can't recall a more vigorous and better public debate than what we saw on these 2 bylaws. Zoning is probably the most difficult thing we all do. It's boring, it can be confusing, no one understands what's going on, but it's one of the things that relates to quality of life at a very high level. I know some of us find it exhilarating. I do love it. I could talk about it all day, but in essence, number one, I do really hope that the council moves both of these along to the planning board at a minimum for the respect of the public hearing process. But also, if folks watch the meetings, they would truly get a depiction of how the sausage is made. And people shouldn't be scared of that. There were amendments made that didn't get seconded. There were amendments that failed over and over and over. There were different ideas thrown out on the table over multiple meetings. And the germane issue is 4 counselors, 2 planning board members, and 1 ZBA member came to a unanimous compromise. In other words, this is a glass half full proposal. Everyone's happy and everyone's miserable. That's a good thing. That's good public policy generally when you get into zoning. So all of us that are involved in this come away with taking steps forward. And on such a cumbersome, divisive, and sometimes expensive issue, that really means something. And I hope everybody comes away with a positive reading of that, even if some of these things in here aren't what they would hope to see, aren't what they would like to see, or don't think it's the best way forward. This is a huge step forward. Both of these bylaws are in fact intertwined. You can deal with them separately, but the use table and the triggering effects of the use table apply to the inclusionary zoning bylaw. In essence, what this does is for 10 or more units, allows a triggering effect for any development in those 3 zoning districts, downtown commercial, C1, and general residential 5, allows that for 1 out of every 10 units shall be affordable. And it also makes it so that instead of special permit, now builders can build 18 units by right, and in those 3 districts. So that's about as far as I can go on my summary, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure the EDC members and Councilor Hamlin and Brian can answer any questions, and I'm sure they'll have some thoughts as well.
Thank you, Jamie. And I'll next go to Councilor Hamlin, who chaired that wonderful committee through some difficult meetings, for sure. But please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Jamie, for that introduction. I think you probably put most of everything that I was going to say together, but I'm not too sure if everybody understands or followed along with what these meetings we had. So these bylaw amendments come to us through this process. It was a 14-month process to get for people to find a consensus. And I don't know if it was difficult. I think it was very interesting. We started way far apart and we came together, and I think that was the beauty of it. And we used the Franklin for All process, the housing production plan, and the MBTA community regulations for these changes, so that we will be MBTA community compliant, and we use some of the recommendations to create a 3-family definition of a housing unit. So that's added into this table as well. And in the inclusionary zoning piece of it was we went back and forth many times about where to start. And I think it will be very interesting to move these forward to the planning board. I think there'll be more people involved and more public hearings, and then it will come back to us for more public hearings. And so I think eventually, if it's a little different, it's okay with me. I mean, we all at the end, we all agreed that we want to push this. We want to put this forward to the town council to go to the planning board, because we knew that we came up with the best consensus possible. And I could talk all night about it as well, because I get really excited about it now, because I've lived this crazy zoning life, and people, their eyes glaze over when I start talking about it. But I'm very proud of the people on that committee and the town staff. I mean, it was a lot of work. We demanded a lot from our town staff, and they came through for us. And we should be really proud of what we've done. I don't think, as Jamie said, it's never been done before, and people kept telling me we couldn't do it, and we did it. And so I hope everyone just says, okay, let's just put it to the planning board. And with that, I'll stop, because I could keep going forever. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Any further discussion Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to thank Councilor Hamblin and all of the fellow councilors and volunteers and staff on the committee. I know how hard you worked to get this in front of us. And I know that it wasn't always easy, and I know that there was quite a bit of ups and downs at some of those meetings. But for the purposes of tonight, for the public, can we just get a definition of what a housing unit is? So that just everybody's on the same page, because I think there's confusion out there in the world about, does that mean, is that apartments, is that condos, is that single families, is it all the above? That would just be helpful, thank you.
Brian?
All of the above.
All the above.
Right.
Great.
Anywhere a individual or family lives in it has to have certain things in it, cooking and sanitary things, and well, whatever. But as a housing unit is single family, duplex, apartment, anything of that nature at all. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I have a couple questions, but I'm not, because these are kind of all together, these two, so I'm just going to ask them. Since I have to vote to move this to the planning board, that 10%, is that just downtown? Or is it all, or are they going to do a thing that's everywhere?
Okay, the inclusionary zoning bylaw relates to any multifamily development, new ones, but not the older ones, but the new ones coming forward, that are of 10 units or more. Okay, now we have the other one, the other bylaw with the regulations here state that multifamily is allowed by right in 3 specific zoning districts. And it's not allowed any others. So it's only those 3 districts, the downtown commercial, the commercial 1, and the general residential 5. You could, in the future, decide that you want multifamily housing allowed in other districts, and in that case, inclusionary zoning would apply to those districts also.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Finish up here. So in these 3 zones, there could be triple deckers all the way down the road. Is that what you're saying? Say some of these single-family houses on 140.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to sell that. I'm going to put a 3-decker in.
Okay.
Yeah. That could be.
I mean, any number of things could happen. Right now, we allow multifamily housing in those 3 zones already. Right now, the downtown commercial area is allowed by right in upper floors, not on the street level. We allow it 2nd and 3rd levels. But in the other 2 districts, if you wanted to have a multifamily development, right now you need to go for a special permit from the planning board. And you may or may not get it, depending on what you're proposing and everything. But, so, because it's very difficult to create housing, allowing a certain size development by right is an appropriate thing to do. In the downtown area, within a half a mile of the train station, the MBTA requirements now, the 3A, the section 3A requirements, you must have multifamily by right in those areas to be in line with that regulation. So in other words, if we don't do it, a by right zoning, then the town will not be able to apply for certain grants, for instance. And we do very well, as a rule, with those grant programs.
Okay.
So
I was just concerned about like a bunch of 3, look like East Boston down the road there. And I'll be honest with you, Brian, I lived in a triple decker.
Yeah.
They think this is going to save the housing. You wouldn't want to live in one.
I've lived with it before, but
you have fond memories of when you were 10. But when you're raising a family and you're in one of those, I think you'd rather be in your house.
I don't think there's any doubt that most people would rather have their own single-family unit. But there are plenty of people out there that can't afford a single-family home right now and have to have something else. And I also want to note that a multifamily development can be a condominium complex where they have townhouses.
That's right, right.
Right?
See,
So there's a lot of different ways to put a multifamily development in, okay? So allow it, with this regulation, if you had an acre of land, you could put in 18 or 19 apartments on 1 acre of land, if by right, or you could put in a little bit less amount of townhouses with it, or something like that. So it's really up to the developer to decide what they're looking for. They come to the planning board to say, this is what we were looking for. If everything is allowed by right, then they should be able to get through the process fairly quickly, addressing mostly because it is a commercial, once it gets beyond two-family, it is a commercial use. They need to go through a design review process. And the site plan would be at least looking at safety and circulation on-site and off-site, things of that nature. So it's not like that when it says by right, they just automatically get anything they want. They need to do the right and appropriate way.
All right, that was great. And then to finish up onto the other one, the 10%. So like, let me give you an example. Dean Ave, 300 apartments. The Noah's Ark over there, 250. No affordable units in any of those. So people can still do those outside of this area?
Both of those properties require, they were in, one is in general residential 5.
And the other one over here, next to Fico's.
And the other one's in the C2 zone. Variances from the CBA were required to get the use in place.
But they didn't have any affordable?
They did not have affordable units.
So,
We didn't
Okay,
have
that's
it.
Right.
I'm done with that. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get to the point.
Yeah, no.
I'm just, we need the 10, I like it everywhere, not just in this little.
Understood.
Not in the triple-decker row that's gonna pop up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Jamie, quickly.
through you, Mr. Chairman, so to Councilor Chairman's question, just to make sure we're clear, this zoning proposal would have had, 117 Dean would have had the 10% requirement if this were in place.
That's what I
So when you asked, I
That's
think,
what I wanted to
so
hear.
275 apartments, or whatever it is, condos over there, would have been 10% of those, so you would have gotten 28 or so units.
Then I
And
love-
and key here, and I know you know this is why I'm asking to talk on it, those would have been deeded affordable units. Permanently affordable. Permanent, deeded. Over here, just so that public at home, because the zoning districts are very, very close, this over here would not have been susceptible to bylaw because it's in commercial too. Okay? So I think the other one down the street would have been right on the line and would have triggered the 10%.
Yeah.
The Taj Estates at 32 units, they ended up doing 4 units anyway, affordable as part of the deliberation. So that would have come out basically a wash on that one. But I just wanted to make sure you were clear on that, Councilor Chandler. Some of those would have had them and some of them would not.
That was the answer he was looking
Now
for.
I feel good about moving this on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Sheridan.
I just, through you, just disagree a little bit. I was gonna say to Councilor DeLurco, I like the 3-deckers. I always loved 3-deckers.
I'm a project rat.
And, I mean,
I'm a project rat.
a lot of working families through the years, they've, bought a 3-decker. They've lived in the center floor and they rent to the other 2, and that's how they pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
And it's been credited for helping the city of Boston keep a middle class for a long time, where other cities have built tenements. The 3-deckers kept a lot of working families in.
One bathroom, they are tenements.
Okay.
Well, 3-deckers are in 1 bathroom.
One.
1 bathroom?
Okay, let's
Okay.
keep,
Yeah, we'll
let's
argue about this later.
let's
We don't have a
keep this going through the chair,
limit.
please.
It's 2 bathrooms.
You all set?
Yeah.
Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, the city of Boston is getting out of control with rent. I mean, that's crazy. But my question, I got my fellow tea worker out there, but the MBTA, what about Forge Park? Are we gonna have to change the zoning up there too? I know we're doing it at Dean Avenue, which
Section
is,
3A,
which is good. I
it gives,
approve.
it gives the town the two stations, we only have to have up to 50 acres or more of this type of zoning in place.
The whole town?
The whole town.
Okay, that answers my question.
Right.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Councilor Frangillo.
I'd just say a quick point, just sort of echoing, you know, how this was a product of compromise. There's many places where I think we fall short of some of our needs, but we worked through this for a long time, and I'm really proud of the product. It's going to help us address so many of our needs. As we talk about the growing expense sheet, our only way of making up ground on that is as I alluded to earlier, not further adding to our expenses faster than we can pay for them, and B, getting new revenue without adding to our expenses. And that allows, that involves allowing our current places to breathe and grow in a natural state. And that's why I'm excited about a lot of this, as well as making sure that as we grow, we have affordable units that allow everyone to afford to live here in Franklin. I will say, this is only the first of it, right? Like, a lot of what we want to do and a lot of the goals are still restrained by other pieces of our zoning code. This is the first product, and it was a massive product of compromise, and I'm so glad we're here, and I'm excited to move it forward. There will be other steps, and I hope that you're equally excited about those.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a member of the EDC, EDC Plus, I want to thank everyone in Michelle, Mel, for all the hard work she's put into the chair position for that. God bless you for putting up with all of us. But in all due respect to my fellow councilors in regards to what you have in front of you tonight, as it's been mentioned, this is going to be moved forward, hopefully move forward to the planning board, and there's going to be a lot of discussion, I'm sure, from the council that we will have an opportunity to hear once it makes it back to us. I know there's a lot of questions right now, but let's give the planning board an opportunity to kind of fester over it on their end, send it back to us for further discussion at that point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am in support of this. Obviously, this was quite a compromise.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. It appears like we might have somebody that would like to speak to it in the audience.
I just have a question for clarification.
Please, just name and address, please.
Brad Steingood, 12 Infantry Lane. You were mentioning three-story buildings, where the owner would live on the first floor and they would rent the second floors. Those are bringing additional families into the town, but they're not going to be contributing to the tax base, right? So their children go to the schools, but it's only the owner of the building that's going to be paying taxes. So how are we going to accommodate that with this increase in affordable housing coming into the town?
Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I would just say that they do pay to the tax base because so we assess the owner of the property, and then the owner of the property chooses their rents beyond that, right? So they're going to disperse their costs to everyone. That's how we get our revenue, is through assessing each property and allowing the owner to make up the costs as they see fit. But if one family becomes a two-family, that increases the assessment. That's more revenue for us. How they deal with that in terms of rent, it doesn't change.
Their tax bill will go up.
Based on if they're renting out the second and third floors.
Exactly.
All right, thank you for clarification.
You're very welcome. Is there any other questions from the council, from the audience? Name and address, please.
Steve Sherrill at Clarence Drive. One of the other things I'd like to reference, at least while the people are away in terms of the planning board, there's 4 podcasts that members of the committees spent time and effort on with other residents participating. So very quickly, there were 4. The first one was with Bruce, Beth, Kobe, and Melanie to talk about the initial piece. Then Kobe and Melanie again talking about our parking, I believe. Then we met with Joel DeRico to work through, from a developer point of view, some of these issues. And then most recently, which just got posted this week, also with Brad Chaffee to talk about some of the ownership sides, which hasn't been part of this discussion, will have to be part of the planning board piece, but those 4 podcasts will provide additional info, additional argumentation, both sides. So it'll help you all, everybody, to understand the work and the compromise that was reached. And there still needs to be discussion, but those are good inputs that I would have everybody consider as this discussion goes forward. They're great assets to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure thing.
Really,
Councilor Hamlin.
that's only if everybody has like 5 extra hours to listen to. But I think one of the podcasts was about inclusionary zoning and how we can't stagnate growth if we put the number too low. And so if we put the number too high, then we'll never get any affordable units. So that was one I think was a very interesting, that would be very good for everybody to listen to, because Kobe and I had this discussion, and we talk about how much it costs to actually build. And so it's very interesting. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Is there any further discussion? Before I end the discussion, I'd be remiss if I did not thank all of the councilors to my left who served on this EDC. Councilor Hamblin for chairing it, Greg Rondo and Beth Whirling for the Planning Board, and Bruce Hunchard from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I sat through quite a few of these sessions, and they have worked so hard over the last 14 months. And I thought the glass half full is really a great definition of where we are and what zoning is all about. Nobody ever walks away 100% happy, but I think what this committee has brought forward tonight is 14 months of hard work with our planning department, Brian Taverner, our town administration, our town attorney. There's so much work that goes into one of these bylaw amendments that people have no idea. And I just want to thank every one of them for all the time and effort that they put in to bring this forward to the council tonight, so that hopefully we can refer it to the planning board. So with that, I would entertain, or vote will come on the motion to refer bylaw amendment 23-889 to the planning board. And it's a majority vote that's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 23-890, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code, Chapter 185, Section 51, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 22-890, formerly known as 22-890, inclusionary zoning. The zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Section 51.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
It's only 5 pages long.
Thank you very much. Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 23-89 to the planning board.
Second.
890.
890.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie, anything to add? Brian, anything to add? Councilor Hamblin?
Just very quickly, this
Yes.
is, so people know, this is actually the bylaw, this is the inclusionary bylaw that will get added to the town code. So it's 5 pages long, and this is where it states that it's 10% when it starts at 10 units. So I just want to make sure people understand that it's a really long one. You don't want Glenn to talk that long, but it's really, really important, and and we don't have this yet. So this is like a first for Franklin, and it's another reason why we should be really proud of Franklin for this. And so with that, I will stop. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Attorney Sorrell.
Through the chair, just for clarification, this applies only to multifamily housing that falls within the definitions. It does not apply to single-family subdivisions.
Right.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the council? From the audience? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to refer bylaw amendment 23-890 to the planning board. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw amendment 23-893, amendment to sewer system map. First reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 23-893, amendment to the sewer system map. A bylaw to amend the code of town of Franklin, chapter 139, entitled sewers as follows. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that chapter 139-14 in the code of town of Franklin, entitled sewer system map, exhibit A map, be amended by adding the following extension as an eligible location. Subsection 139-14, sewer system map, exhibit A, extending sewer system for cannabis grow facility at 160 Grove Street. The proposed sewer extension will involve a connecting to an existing gravity sewer which terminates in front of number 168 Grove Street, Franklin Tile, and existing new gravity sewer approximately 600 feet northerly and upstream to the area in front of 160 Grove Street. This bylaw shall not become effective until all conditions agreed to between the property owner and the DPW are satisfied. This bylaw shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 23-893 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Mike Maglio and Brutus are both here tonight, as well as Doug Martin, our water sewer superintendent, in case anybody has any questions. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The one correction I just want to make for the record is the memo has one incorrect statement, which is we just wanted to get this done before we pave the road. There won't be a 5-year moratorium. As you know, in other areas in town, if you don't hook up to the water lines when we're doing road work, sometimes there's a moratorium. So I put that in the memo. That is incorrect. However, we did reach out to all the property owners over the years between Planet Fitness and Kenwood Circle, because that's the only section of area that does not have the sewer pipe. And obviously the folks at 160 Grove Street, who are here tonight as well, have put in the proper application and paperwork. So Mike's here to answer any questions if folks have them.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, I guess I'd go back to a similar question, and this one I could visualize. I had a harder time visualizing, but they're contributing to this time they're putting money aside. How much is that going to cover the expenses, and why would we, if it doesn't cover it, why would it still make sense for us to?
Mike, just name and
Mike
name and
Maglio,
title.
Town Engineer.
Thank you.
So the applicant will be paying for the total cost to construct the sewer extension themselves. They're making an additional contributions to the town for the to upgrade a downstream pump station, and another $10,000 for the water conservation fund, which we'll use for the other town residents that they can for a rebate program. So they're paying for the full construction themselves, plus there's an additional benefit there for the town also.
Yeah. Yeah, paying for the construction, that's true with all of these, right? Any new development, right? The fear is that eventually we'll need to maintain it. We'll need to pay for the replacement, and if we haven't set aside enough money, then we're just adding more liabilities. Hearing that they're willing to contribute to other things helps.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
In addition to that, they will be billed their typical sewage usage fees also, so they'll be paying for fees to use the sewage like everybody else also.
Right. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Which pays for the costs, the ongoing, some of the ongoing costs.
I'm guessing it doesn't cover it.
No,
Yes.
of course. Councilor Chandler, you all set, Councilor?
Yeah.
Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to maybe Mr. Maglio. So this was originally approved with a septic, like they were all set. So, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair. So the original planning board site plan had a septic system on it.
Okay, so this is not a priority thing, they're not in danger of anything failing by them not doing this, right?
Once, after the project was approved during construction, they came to us with a request to extend the sewer, so we went through the process. The applicants do have some representatives here, if you want to hear something directly from them.
Okay, so, and I also read that this has to be done by June 23rd?
So the requirement was for June 30th. We have a current project under design to pave Grove Street. We're in the process of, we did the intersection at Washington Grove.
Right.
The traffic's gonna be coming in soon. We're gonna be extending, repaving that section of Grove Street also this summer, going into next year. So when they came to us, we just wanna make sure if it is going to get approved, that it's done by that time so it doesn't affect our project. This is the project the town received that $2 million grant from MassWorks 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't want to see this hold that up, that's.
Correct.
So that you, in your opinion, they'll be able to get this out to bid, get it done, there'll be no issue?
From my discussions with them, they're gonna have their site contractor, who we've worked with in town, they're a licensed drain layer in town, and they're, apparently they're putting all the pieces together, have it ready to go first thing in the spring. And it should go pretty quick as far as the construction goes.
Okay.
Just maybe. Yeah, for clarification, it won't be something that the applicant will need to bid, they can just hire their own contractor because it's a private
low bid.
construction.
It's not
So
low
we're
bid.
not constructing it, the applicant will be constructing it through.
I kind of thought of that. Okay, but again, it's not, they could do their septic and it wouldn't affect us.
It wouldn't affect the town necessarily. I don't know the conditions on the site as far as the septic goes. It's more of a Board of Health issue. So.
Because it seems like forever we're hearing, people can't connect to the sewer, it's all filled, it's all, that's what I'm getting at, I don't understand. We seem very accommodating here. I mean, I don't know, is it the $40,000? Why are we so accommodating with this? When other people have been turned down?
As far as people being turned down, I think it's a sort of a project-by-project case. I think in this instance, the logistics of actually extending the sewer, it works. There's, the grades are there, we can extend the gravity sewer. It's not, they'll have a private they'll have a pump, private force main on their property to pump out to the street, but on the street, the town sewer will be gravity sewer. In some occasions, that's not a possibility.
Yeah.
There's capacity issues, not really an issue there.
Just identify yourself, please.
Bruce Kenneraggi, DPW Director. Mr. Chairman, one point I think we're missing on this, Brian, a lot of times they come up with a residential, and we really try to help them out.
Yeah.
This is also the other thing we try to do is economic development. Besides, it's for future use, they're looking to do it, but they're also gonna go buy a couple other properties that might wanna tie into the future. Right. So it's about business development, and it's kind of, and the infrastructure thing, they're paying for the whole thing. And with sewer also, they own all the way to, it ties into the town. So it's not like the water lines that are in the road. I mean, they own it right up to that point. So that's another way we looked at it when we talked about it, besides the other funds.
All right, I understand. Now, these other new businesses will just tear up the brand-new road.
No,
That you're saying are gonna hook in
They're,
later on.
they're tying into the system that's already there. It's also gonna benefit the other residents. This is actually, yeah, we're gonna leave stubs for them if they wanna go in the future. This is actually a good one for the town, per se. I mean, you hate, they're always good what we do, tying in residents, but this isn't really an economic burden per se. This is, I think, in my opinion, beneficial to the town in the long run.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any further discussion? I will go to one in a minute. Any other councilors? Did you want to speak? Just identify yourself, please.
If it's helpful, I can direct a question. If it's helpful, I can direct a question.
No.
Stephen Bosvich, here representing land planning on behalf of the property owner. One additional note is this is also the property that is in the Water Resource Protection Overlay District. So in a environmental side, it actually is better for us to tie into the sewer.
Makes sense.
Because of the limitations of that zone and the protections for that overlay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 23-893 to a second reading. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. No.
Opposed?
No.
One no. Motion carries. Resolution 23-21, my favorite. Cable funds in support of PEG service and programming per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53F3 and 3/4. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Motion to waive the reading?
Second.
Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move resolution 23-21.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion.
I waive the town administrator's comments.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-21. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town administrators report. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the council. So, quick update. Tomorrow, obviously, the senior center is still closed, so the office hours we hold, unfortunately, we won't be able to hold them tomorrow. And just a quick update on that. Our focus is trying to work as fast and as swiftly as possible to reopen the cafe and the multi-purpose room. There was only one small section of sheetrock that had to be cut out right underneath the serving area in the cafe. We were that close to not having that problem, but because there's a big hole, which was already been cut out last week, we thought we could reopen. The problem is we can't find anybody to put the sheetrock and fill in the hole, and I know they're working on that this week. If anybody were to peek through some of the windows, you could also see that the walls outside in the lobby have been stripped out. And so the crews have been down there pretty much around the clock over the last week. I wish I had an update tonight exactly when we'd be able to reopen, but I'll probably announce that Friday. Why are we waiting until the end of each week? Because we continue to hold out hope every day that more crews come and whoever needs to come is going to fix what it needs to fix. I can assure everybody the first area that was cut out was in the cafe. And the first area that will be reinstalled is in the cafe. And what will likely happen is once the cafe and the multi-purpose room are open, they will be able to not only serve meals, obviously, and open the cafe, but there'll likely be some afternoon programs as well. I do want to give a huge thanks to the amazing library staff who have taken in other programs over there. It's not as if everybody has nothing to do. There's been a lot of other folks who have found other places to play cribbage and games and mahjong and all sorts of other stuff. So it's not as if people are completely isolated. So we'll put out another announcement out at the end of this week, Thursday or Friday, let people know about next week, and we'll just continue to get out the information as quick as possible when we can get people in. I do want to caution really quickly, whenever we are able to reopen, as you know as well as anybody, Mr. Chairman, the long-term sustainability fix of properly insulating the upstairs and in the soffit and some of the areas that have had the problems with cool air coming in. Some of those improvements, may take some time. We're not really clear on that calendar yet. We did meet with the insurance adjuster a couple times over the last week, and the good news is obviously our insurance will be covering the damages, including the furniture, including the couches. So one thing maybe to look forward to at some point is that there will be some new couches and furniture in the lobby. So for anybody out there watching that visits the senior center often, I know the staff is excited to pick out some new furniture, but the insurance will be covering all of that as well. So there is some good news out of all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And just one point to add, the areas, the soffit areas that the problem exists in, the fix for that, we've had an HVAC engineer in to look at it and tell us what we actually have to do to fix this so that it does not happen again. We're very hopeful and feel very confident that the insurance is going to cover that fix as well. Because it only benefits them.
I was gonna say, they should.
Yeah. Because it only benefits them, for sure. Okay, subcommittee reports. Capital.
Well, we just did it. So.
Okay, thank you, Councilor DeLarco. EDC, just an update, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next meeting will be next Wednesday. It's going to be sort of a public education forum on Chapter 40Bs, what's going on in the town, what the differences. Hopefully we'll all learn the differences between the different 40Bs and what the town can and can't do and what's happening. I feel like we all need that education, and so we're going to do that next Wednesday, the 22nd at 6 p.m. And then on March 1st, we will be discussing accessory dwelling units. So we're going to continue on with our push to massage a lot of these things that we have, recommendations from the Franklin for All and from the in the housing production plan. So it will be a EDC plus steering committee meeting, so it'll be really fun. I hope everybody tunes in.
We'll take you at your word.
March 1st, everybody.
Bring the ball. Yeah. Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. There's no budget subcommittee report. Gotcha, anything?
Yeah.
Councilor Frangillo.
I would just say the Gantry Advisory Board did meet today. We revised our bylaws a little. We got a new website. But the big note is that, again, we were contracting out 3 operators. We moved down to 1. That transition officially happened January 30th. There were a few bumps in the road, but for the most part, it's been going well. People are happy, and it'll sort of, the full transition will take place over these few months, 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councilor Frangillo, for your input and for serving on that. You and I know better than anybody what I gave to you, I should say. Councilor Sheridan, future agenda items.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Frangillo.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Hamblin.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the town administrator, will we be having Brutus come and talk about the sidewalk master plan that you and I discussed? Like, is that a future agenda item?
Through Mr. Chairman, it is. I'm still waiting on a deadline of when the plan will be in place, because remember, it's pavement management plan, sidewalk management plan, and assets, like parking lots and stuff like that. We've been trying to get the date out of the contractor, but we don't have a date of when that will be.
As soon as we do, we'll get it.
But it's definitely on the docket for sure. I've got it on our list.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones.
Yes, sir.
Councilor DeLarco.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Councilor comments. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another great meeting. Look at everybody, all these smiling faces. I just wanted to remind everyone, if you didn't get the invitation, see the email, see the Facebook posts. Tomorrow night, which is February 16th from 6 to 8 at the Escape into Fiction, will be the winter gallery reception for the Franklin Art Association. I'm very proud to have 2 pieces in that show, and I would love it if everybody would come by and have a little toast with us and a little nibble and see the work that your neighbors worked really hard to put forward. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it was a good meeting. We'll be out of here in 10 minutes. It'll be great. unfortunately, my time to go from West Central to East Central continues to rise. I don't know if anyone's been noticing that. It's gotten worse and worse. So we'll see what happens with all this housing. Lastly, I just want to say, I am really glad that we have an elected school board, because I'm probably the only person in the world that didn't know that Boston's school board is not elected, it's appointed.
It's appointed.
Yeah.
It used to be elected.
It used to be, but it's appointed, so I couldn't even imagine us doing something like that. So I just want to say, I hope it never comes up for any kind of discussion even. That's just my 2 cents, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Sheridan.
I forget the date, but I think the Franklin Food Pantry is having a fundraiser sometimes. When is it?
16th.
16th, thank you, yeah, I meant to say that, okay. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, I had those events, gallery, food pantry, other thing, this Friday at 67 degrees at 7 o'clock, Black History Bingo, put together by the Franklin Freedom Team in collaboration with Medway Marches. So come down, enjoy a few drinks, and have some fun with us. The other thing is the open space and rec plan is going on. There are hearings every few weeks. There's also an open survey. So if you haven't yet seen the survey, go find the survey link anytime. I believe it's April 16th is the deadline for that. So you have some time, but don't put it off too long. Fill out that survey. That'll help us create that master plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. everybody just said that mentioned the events already. So the other thing about the open space master plan is that the next hearing or the next group here in Chambers next Thursday will be about Schmitz Farm. And so if anybody has any cool ideas about that, that would be the time to bring that forward. I just wanted to thank the Capital Budget Committee subcommittee for their work on some of the work that we voted on tonight, and on the town staff for helping us with the Franklin for All project. I mean, they really worked really hard for us. And so I just want to thank you guys a lot for that. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, to bring up a meeting that no one's mentioned yet, Dean College is having their Neighborhood Alliance meeting on Tuesday, February 21st at 6 o'clock over at Dean College. As you and I have discussed several times before, Mr. Chairman, it would be nice if people, other than just the neighborhood, came out and actually had further discussions about how we can work with Dean collaboratively on many of the issues that exist, not just around Dean, but in the town as a whole. They're always open to listening to opinions and ideas other than just talking about student parking. I know that's always a topic that comes up at discussion. Hopefully everyone will have an opportunity to attend. I know they're looking forward to hearing our opinion on things. Everything else has been said. The food pantry is moving, the new food pantry is moving along. It's remarkable how much work is being done at the new location. I'm looking forward to that finally being completed. And I just had to give a shout out to my son, who actually just got his final rank with chief, which is the highest rank you can get in the Sea Cadet Corps. He has an official pinning on March 12th, and that's the World War looking forward to that. Other than that, I hope everyone stays safe, enjoy the nice weather. I don't know if we should thank global warming for this past week or not, but it's been crazy out there, folks. Stay safe.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Vice Chair DeLarco.
I'll thank them for global warming. This is my last winter over the mass board, so I'm thanking them every time. But a couple things. Franklin Rod and Gun's having their breakfast this Sunday, 7:30 to 11. We had a recreation committee meeting last Monday. A lot of good things coming down the line with the recreational committee. Looks like we're in the move for more pickleball courts. That's really going crazy. And lights down at King Street, look like that's coming up. We got everything going. So hopefully they'll be by the fall of 2024, Jamie, I think we're looking at.
Trying to get through tomorrow. I don't know. I know the design has been spec'd out. There
It's
are some
close.
definite changes that still have to happen.
Yeah.
Did do the ring around, the walk path around the periphery.
They're gonna do that,
we-
yeah.
Absolutely. And I know everybody's ready for the lights. It's an expensive project.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It's a very
But it'll be
expensive
nice to
project.
light up that parking lot. It is awful dark up there. It's nice, you know.
It is.
It will be good to be up there, but outside of that, that's it.
Just one thing, just so that the people listening know that there is still time to fill out an application or forms for the different committees, the master plan, the Davis there, the police station, and the cultural. So those committee appointment or those committee forms are due by
March 3rd.
March 3rd. So you still have a couple of weeks to do that. So please.
Next week.
Yeah. True.
Buddy.
Okay, with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I
carries.
Kobe, does Gata have any,
I have a whole bunch. I got these at the MMA.